Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So I posted recently my 10 thickest bracelets that I've ever made, and this was one of the bracelets featured, and I got a lot of requests to make this tutorial for you guys. So here you go. So first grab your string. You're going to need a lot of string. Basically you need, how many colors do you need? You need 7 strands of like a background color, so for here it's white. So you need 7 strands of white, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you need 2 strands each of 5 colors, so that's 10 colored strings in total. So altogether you should have 17 strings, and then if you fold them in half, that's 34. You're going to need to make one string a lot longer than the rest of them because you need to make this beginning loop up top here. So I'd recommend doing all of them 5 feet long and then folding them in half, but then making this one about 6 feet long. Fold your strings in half and attach them to your clipboard. So now we're going to start making the beginning loop, which is up here. So grab the string that you made longer, and you're going to make a beginning loop. So I taught you guys how to make a beginning loop in one of my other videos, so I'm not going to spend too much time with it, but I'll put the link in the description so you can see how to do that. Alright, so now once you've made this loop, you want to take the loop off your clipboard, and then attach it so this loop is bent like this. And then put one of the halves off to the side. So now separate your strings, so you have 6 white strings over here and 1 blue string, and then over here you'll have all of your colored strings plus 1 white string. So for now, put the white bundle off to the side, and what you're going to do is you are going to take the second color in your sequence. So for me that's green, and you are going to do a forward backward knot. We're going to be making a shaped start, but it's going to be a little differently than we usually do because it's not symmetrical. But anyway, I'll put a link to that in the description as well. So after you do a forward backward knot with the green thread, then take the yellow thread and do a forward backward knot. Then take an orange thread and do a forward backward knot. Take a red thread and do a forward backward knot. And then take the white thread and do a forward backward knot. Next, take a red thread and do a forward backward knot. Then do a forward backward knot with the orange thread. Then with the yellow thread. And finally the green thread, so that all that's left is the blue thread. So then put that off to the side, and then take the white bundle that's still part of the same thing, and you're going to take white threads and just do backward forward knots around the whole bundle, and once you're done, just put it off to the side. So the only string that should be left at the end is the blue string. So it should look like this so far. So now it's okay that this side is shorter than this side. It's because you use more strings on this side than this side. So it's not symmetrical, but that's okay. So you're just going to do the same thing on the other side, but it's going to be the opposite. So instead of forward backward knots, you're going to do backward forward knots. So put this part off to the side, and then again separate your strings into colorful strings on the left with 1 white string, and then all white strings plus 1 blue string on the right. Alright, so now we're going to put this white bundle off to the side, and then start by taking the second to last color in the sequence, so that's green, and do a backward forward knot with that. Then do a backward forward knot with the yellow string, backward forward knot with the orange string, backward forward knot with the red string, backward forward knot with the white string, backward forward knot with the red string, orange string, yellow, and finally green. So put that off to the side, and then take your white bundle and then do forward-backward knots. Just do forward-backward knots around the whole bundle, and once you're done with knotting that string, just put it off to the side. Alright, and then once you're done with that, bend your buckle so that both strings are in front, and you have the white strings on the inside and the rainbow strings on the outside. And then clip that to your clipboard. And then take the two blue strings in the middle and knot one of them over the other. Alright, now we're going to start on the right side. So take the first white string, and you're going to do double forward knots over all of the strings up until but not including the blue string. So here, so do a double forward knot over this green string, yellow string, orange string, and all the way down until you reach the blue string, but not including the blue string. So once you've done that, then just leave this white string over here, and then take the second white string, and you're going to do the same thing. So do double forward knots over all of the strings except for the white string and the blue string at the end. Alright, now take the green string, and you're going to do double backward knots over the next 4 white strings, and then the blue string in the center. Now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but reversing the knots. So take the first white string and do double backward knots over all of the rainbow strings. Then take the next white thread in line, and you're going to do the same thing, so double backward knots over all of the rainbow strands. Then take the green thread and do double forward knots over the next 4 white strings, then the blue string, and then finally the other green string that you just knotted with. Alright, now take the next white string in line. It's the first white string that you knotted over with this green one. You're going to knot over all of the strings in between the yellow strings. So you don't want to knot over this green string at the end, just the strings before it. So this yellow string is the last one you knot over. You don't want to knot over the green strings. Then take the first yellow string you knotted over and do double backward knots all the way down into the middle of the 2 green strings. Now take the first white string that you knotted over with on the left side, and you're going to do the same thing. So do double backward knots all the way down until you've reached the yellow string. Then take the first yellow string you knotted over and do double forward knots all the way until you've reached the yellow string in the middle, and then knot over that one too. Then take the next white string you knotted over and knot over the orange and red strings, as well as the white string in the middle. So you should be making 5 knots in the middle here. And then take the first orange string you knotted over, and then do double backward knots all the way down into the center. Then on this side, take this white string over here, and do double backward knots over the next 5 strings, so up until and including the orange string. Then take the orange string you just knotted over, and then do forward knots until you've reached the orange string in the middle, and then knot over that one too. Then take this white string over here and do 3 forward knots, 1 over the red string, 1 over the white string, and then 1 over the red string. Then take the first red string and do backward knots until you reach the center. Then on the other side, take this white string and do 3 backward knots, one over the red string, one over the yellow string, and one over the next red string. Then take this red string and do forward knots until you reach the red string in the middle. Then this white string is what you're going to be knotting over with all of these strings. So what you're going to do is you are going to take the white string on the left side and you are going to do a double forward knot over only this white string. Then take the blue string and do a forward knot over the white string. Then take the green string and do a forward knot over the white string. Then do the same with the yellow. The orange. And the red. And now just do the same thing on the other side, but switch the knots. So, with this white string, do a backward knot over this white string. Then do a backward knot with the blue string over the white string. Then a backwards knot with the green string. Yellow string, orange, and red, and then knot the 2 white strings in the middle. Now, take the red string over here and you're going to knot over this white string, blue, green, yellow, orange, red, and then this white string here. Then take the red string and then do forward knots all the way down and then knot over the red string in the middle. Then take the orange thread over here and then do backward knots until you reach the orange thread, and on the orange thread do a backward forward knot. Then on this side, take the orange thread and do the same thing, so do forward knots until you've reached the orange thread, and then do a forward backward knot. Then do the same thing with the yellow string over here. So do backward knots until you've reached the yellow string, and then do a backward forward knot. Then on this side, do forward knots until you reach the yellow string, and then do a forward backward knot. Then finally take the green thread and do backward knots until you reach the green thread, and then do a backward forward knot. And do the same thing on the other side. Now take the blue thread and you're going to knot down all of these white strings up until the blue string, and then do a backward forward knot with the blue string. And then on this side, do forward knots until you reach the blue string, and then do a forward backward knot. Alright, now we're going to do this part right here, so we're going to be making like a little diamond shape. So with this white thread, you are going to do 4 backward knots, and then a backward forward knot. Then with the next white string, do 2 backward knots, and then a backward forward knot. And then with the last white string, just do a backward forward knot. Now with the third white string in, do 2 forward knots. And then with the second to last white string in, do 4 forward knots. Then take this blue thread and do 6 forward knots. Alright, now we're going to do the same thing on the other side, but just reversing the knots. So do 4 forward knots with the outermost white string, and then a forward backward knot. Then with the next white string, do 2 forward knots and then a forward backward knot. And then with the last white string, do a forward backward knot. Now with the third white string in, do 2 backward knots. And then with the second to last white string in, do 4 backward knots. And then with this blue string, do 6 backward knots. Now take this green thread over here, and then do forward knots up until you reach these 2 strings, these 2 white strings and the blue string. So if it helps, just put these over to the side, do a forward knot over everything else that's left. Alright, now take the last white string that you just knotted over and the green string and put those off to the side too. And then with the yellow string, do forward knots over all the strings that are in front of you. Then take this yellow string that you just knotted with and the white string you just knotted over and put that off to the side. And then with the orange thread, do a forward knot over all the strings in front of you. And then take the orange thread and the white thread that you just knotted over and put those off to the side. And then finally take this red thread and then do a forward knots over the rest of the strings. Now put the red thread off to the side, but leave the white thread that you just knotted with. So then take this white thread that's closer to the middle, and then with each of these threads you are going to do a backward knot over just this white thread. Alright, now take this white thread that you just knotted over and put that off to the side. And then take the next red thread and then do forward knots over all the strings to the right of it. Alright, so now we're just going to do everything that we just did here, we're going to do on the other side. So take this green thread, you're going to take the blue thread and then these 2 white strings and you're going to put them off to the side, just like we did on the other side. And then with this green thread, you're going to do backward knots over the rest of them. Then take this green thread and the last white string you knotted over and put those off to the side too. Then take this yellow string and then do backward knots over the rest of them. Then take this white thread that you just knotted over and the yellow thread, put those off to the side. Then take this orange thread and do backward knots over the rest of the strings. Then take this orange thread and the white thread you just knotted over and put those off to the side. And then take the red thread and do backward knots over the strings to the left of it. Then put only this red thread off to the side, but leave the white thread here. So now we're going to do what we just did over here, but reversed. So you're going to take this white thread, and you're going to knot all of these, do forward knots over all of these, so it's going to be like this. So take the orange thread and do a forward knot over the white thread. Then take the yellow thread and do the same. Then the green thread. The blue thread. And finally the white thread. Now take this white thread that you just knotted over and put it to the side, but leave the thread that you were just knotting with and leave that there. Then take the red string in the middle and then do backward knots over all of the strings to the left of it. So now we're going to work on this side. Take the red string, the white string, and the red string, and then the next white string. So take these 4 strings and bring them back. And you're going to take the white string on the right and do 3 backward knots. And then do the same thing on the other side. So take the next 4 strings, take this white thread, and do 3 forward knots. Now take the orange threads in the middle, double knot them, and then with the one on the right, do forward knots all the way down and including the 2 white strings. So you can put these strings off to the side. And then on this side, you can take these 3 strings you knotted over with the white string and put those off to the side, and then take the remaining orange string and do backward knots all the way down. Now bring these 3 strings back, bring the orange thread over here, and then bring the orange thread from over here. So you should have 5 strings: orange, red, white, red, orange. Then take the next white string, and then do 5 backward knots. And then isolate those 5 strings on the other side, and do the same thing with forward knots. Now take the white strings in the middle, and double knot them, and then with the one on the right, do 5 forward knots. Then take the other white thread and then do 5 backward knots. Now on this side, put together the other yellow string and then all the strings that you've knotted over with so far, and then take the white string that's poking out of the green string and then knot the 7 strings this way. So you'll be doing a backward knot. Then on this side, take these 7 strings, and then take the white string and do 7 forward knots. Now take the 2 blue threads in the middle and double knot those. And then with the one on the right, do a forward knot over all of the white strings. And then with the blue string all the way on the right, you're going to do backward knots all the way down and including the blue string in the center. Now take the blue thread in the center and do backward knots over all of the blue strings, over all of the white strings to the left. And then take the blue thread all the way on the left, and then do forward knots over all of these strings, including the blue string. Alright, now put the rest of these colored strings off to the side, and we're going to work on the center bit now. So we're basically going to do what we did on the sides, but it's going to be in the center. So take the 2 center white strings, and knot one over the other. And then with the one on the right, do 4 forward knots and then 1 forward backward knot. Then with the other white thread in the middle, do 4 backward knots and then 1 backward forward knot. Now take the center white strings and knot one over the other. And then with the right one, do 2 forward knots and then a forward backward knot. And then with the other middle one, do 2 backward knots and then a backward forward knot. Then take the 2 center strings, knot them over each other, and then with the right one, do a forward backward knot, and with the left one, do a backward forward knot. And then knot those 2 strings in the center again. Then with the third white string from the middle, do 2 forward knots, and then with the corresponding one on the other side, do 3 backward knots. And then with the second string to the left, do 4 forward knots, and then with the corresponding one on the right, do 5 backward knots. Now take this blue string and do 6 forward knots, and with this blue string, do 7 backward knots. Alright, so now we're going to do kind of the same thing that we did over here, but it's going to be with these strings. So put the rest of it off to the side, and then with this green string, do backward knots until you reach the green string, and then do a backward forward knot. Then take the yellow thread and then do backward knots until you reach the yellow string, and then do a backward forward knot. Then take the orange thread and do backward knots, and then do a backward forward knot over the other orange string. And then with this red string, do a backward knot and then a backward forward knot. And then do a forward knot over the white string. Then with the first orange string, do 3 forward knots. With the yellow string, do 5 forward knots. And then with the green thread, do 7 forward knots. And then with this blue string, do forward knots over the entire line. Now just repeat this on the other side, but instead of where I say forward knot, do a backward knot. Instead of where I say backward knot, do forward knot. Instead of backward forward, do forward backward. So once you're done with this, basically it's just a repeating pattern. Like you can just take this and it sort of like interlocks there. See, like that? So once you start this sort of V thing, then you're just good to go. So quickly I'll just show you how to end it. So basically if your bracelet's here, and you begin, before you begin this rainbow diamond and this white diamond over here, you want to end so you have like this, right? So the blue is the bordering. So I'm going to show you on this one for now. So I'm going to show you how to make a shaped end that's specialized for this bracelet, but I've also made a general tutorial that I can put in the link in my description. So take the 2 strings on the outside, and with this string, do a double backward knot. Then group these 2 strings together, and then take the next string and do a double backward knot. Then group those together, and with the next string, do a double backward knot, and do this all the way down. Alright, so now just do the same thing on the other side, but instead of doing backward knots, you're going to do forward knots. Alright, now take the two center strings and knot them together. And then take the next white string and do a double backward knot. And then group those two together. And then do a double backward knot over those. And just continue like you did before. Now take this white thread and do a double forward knot. And then group those two together and do another forward knot. And continue. And now just braid these two ends. Alright, and there you have it. That is your Starburst bracelet. I had a lot of fun teaching you guys how to make this. This is one of the prettiest bracelets I've ever made, frankly. These colors are just so pretty, and these are already up on my Etsy shop, and this one will be soon as I finish it for you guys. So thank you so much for watching. If you'd like to get more bracelets, please visit me on Instagram at alexinnovations, or visit my website at alexinnovations.weebly.com. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to keep the bracelets coming. Thank you so much, guys. See you next time!